Protector, looking for her daughter who was kidnapped by sex traffickers. Protector, but she will not stop until she gets her daughter back from them. Protector, but we don't know why this movie's so badly edited. Protector, Magenta Light Studios should be shunned for making this tripe. Protector, but I barely know her. Here's a film, allegedly, kinda. It's something that was filmed with cameras. I don't know what kind of cameras. Apparently cameras are a pluck from 1995 because my oh my, besides the current technology, this movie looks like absolute dog shit. Not even mixing any words. Not even gonna try, waiting to tip my hand forward. I'm gonna tip every hand forward and then I'm just gonna do this. Because this is what Protector does to you. It basically just hits you over the head with the most minute of a theme. There's one germ of a halfway decent idea that they fail to explore because it's so badly directed, badly written. There are 16, if not more, executive producers and 16, if not more, producers, including Paul W.S. Anderson, who needs to be just shunned repeatedly, constantly, until he understands that he's not a good filmmaker. Name one really good Paul W.S. Anderson movie that didn't involve a lot of great talent to carry his bullshit across the finish line. I'll wait. So, yes, when I saw the trailer for Protector, I'm like, okay, you know what? This doesn't look very good. In fact, it kind of looked like Shadow Force. But Shadow Force looks like Citizen Kane next to this. Protector was allegedly directed by Adrian Grunberg, and I was struggling to remember where I had actually heard that name before. Get the Gringo, okay. Rambo, Last Blood, okay. The Black Demon, oh, that explains it. Directing one of the worst shark movies this side of the asylum. Yeah, that absolutely tracks as to how bad this movie is. It was also allegedly written by a human being named Mong Seob Mun. And forget Mun, it's more like Mud. Like his name is Mud. Like the script was found in the mud. It's not out the mud because it's not an NXT gimmick. Milla Jovovich, who I adore her from The Fifth Element onwards, even in a lot of the bad movies she's been in, A Perfect Getaway was actually a pretty good use of her talents. She does have a little bit of acting ability. She also looks incredible for the fact that she basically has not aged since The Fifth Element. But in The Lost Lands, if you thought she was phoning it in there, look, people have said that, oh, she's going gung-ho, this kind of stuff, and going through a lot of, really terrible shit, and putting her body through a whole lot of shit. Yeah, wading through the shit of Protector. Protector basically involves a lifelong military vet, Nikki, played by Milla Jovovich, who's had to watch her daughter grow up via, FaceTime and all that stuff. And we know this because we see it in the montage. After we see a montage of various things involving sex trafficking and human trafficking and all that. And look, let me say right now, I will take this over Sound of Freedom because I think this movie was made with good intentions. It was just made with good intentions by people that were clearly lobotomized once they got out of the womb. But Sound of Freedom, yeah, fuck every single person involved in that goddamn production. Every single one. How they made a whole bunch of money, I have no idea. Protector basically has a montage in the beginning of like various news reports and that kind of stuff. People that have dealt, or people that are dealing with, trying to get these girls home. And look, it's bullshit. If you are participating in anything like this, you're not going to out yourself, but you're a fucking asshole and you will get caught. And I'm sorry, but anybody that gets that depraved, we can all have fun and joke around and everything and just enjoy ourselves and whatever. And, talk fanciful scenarios. But if you are going to get into any kind of stuff like sex trafficking, all this stuff, no. Human trafficking, you're assholes. You're absolutely the scum of the fucking earth. And you probably would love to work for the current administration. That being said, I digress. We have D.B. Sweeney in this as a captain. We also have Matthew Modine, who is one of the producers, showing up later as a colonel. And I'm going to say right now, you can call the twist from the opening. If you can't, then you just don't care. And that's fine. I wouldn't blame you guys if you didn't care one bit. When I saw the trailer for this movie, I was like, well, it looks like dog shit, but whatever. I've been wrong before. I thought Psycho Killer looked pretty good, and it turned out to be absolutely horrendous. And I think I would rather take Psycho Killer over this, because Psycho Killer tried. It didn't try to do anything good, but at least it was competent compared to this. The fact that this was, the fact that so much of this dialogue feels like it was translated from, and apparently it's an Iranian and South Korean production. Something. Magenta Light Studios had something to do with Strange Darling. Yeah, they made Strange Darling. They were involved in the production of Strange Darling, one of the best horror movies of this decade. And then they produced this slop. And they apparently have other ones going on, like one trailer called Deep Water that was like a lengthy plane, tutorial of what would happen in a plane crash. And then sharks attack. Or one shark. I've had it with shark movies. And if Adrian Grunberg is involved in that, then that means it's going to be as bad as The Black Demon. So let's get back to the actual somewhat coherency of this. Actually, it's kind of fitting that I'm all over the map with this goddamn movie. And with this review, because this thing it only wants people to ingest it as just silly slop. But the thing is slop needs to actually have a thread of something that you could want to follow. Twist, obvious, or whatever, that aside, the movie, even up to that point, is so painful and excruciating. If you thought Taken basically had, had barely any plot and barely any characters besides Liam Neeson, wanting to go after his daughter and rescue her, and then Taken 3, or whatever the fuck it was called. It was Taken 2, and was it Taken 3 or was it Taken semicolons? Whatever, it's fine. The whole thing about this movie is, it's like if Taken was done on a shoestring budget. It's literally like if they plucked something out in 1995. Because that's how bad it's filmed. That is how bad the dialogue is. There is a line, that's said in this, I don't like to repeat myself, and well, you could have fooled me, Magenta Light Studios. You really fucking could have fooled me. I hope everybody involved in Magenta Light Studios can have a lengthy career doing something else, because if this is an example of stuff that they're going to put in theaters in 2026, they are just doomed to be in the dumpster pile. I thought Vertical Entertainment, Vertical Films, whatever, would, have the lock on getting a bunch of slop content, but no, absolutely not. I'll still take Magenta Light Studios over Angel Studios, but then again, I would have taken basically being flogged repeatedly over anything offered from Angel Studios. By the way, take a shot every time they say the word. It's like, your house. I'm trying to avoid the censors here. You will be blackout drunk within the first 30 minutes. It's not even actually said that much, but it's said often enough where you're like, okay, like really, this dialogue, it's like it was translated from Korean to English, back to Iranian, and then to Korean, and then back to English, and then somehow put through a faulty AI program. A lot of faulty AI talk on this, on this channel recently, like in The Bride and stuff like that, but I digress. This movie just has Mila Jovovich doing stunts, but it's so incredibly inept from the very beginning, with so many illogical, physics-defying things, where within the first little bit, you may laugh at it, but that laughter is quickly going to turn to, what the fuck were they actually on? I would really like to know what the pitch was. I would really like to know why Matthew Modine actually says, this is not, I don't care if this is, he says a line in this where he says, physically she was recovered, but mentally recovered. They left that take in. Which I'm willing to bet was actually verbatim how that was written. And I don't know if the writer's a nice guy. He could be saving cancer patients from a burning building. Or saving, puppies as they're falling out of a goddamn plane. And great for him. He can go do that instead of writing. This apparently is the first movie that he's written. Apparently it's the first time he's written anything based on how this stuff has gone. And again, so inept. As far as stunts, as far as lighting, it's like every executive producer threw $1,000 in. And they said, okay, we're going to shoot a lot of this stuff really, really tight so people can't realize that even if we're using actual houses or actual buildings, we can only afford to shoot in this one area, and it's so bad. It's so bad. I hate it. I hate it so goddamn much. I don't know why I've gone on so long about it. I originally wasn't even going to do a review of this, but it's pissed me off to the point that movies like this get released in theaters. Had this been put on Amazon for a few bucks, I still would have felt ripped off. I paid the 53-cent convenience fee on my Regal Pass to watch it. So basically, I got into the movie for free, and I still felt ripped off. And there were, oh God, I don't know, 10 other people in this theater. Nobody made a sound. Not one person made a goddamn sound. I think one person might have fallen asleep, but they were a really quiet snorer. But yeah, D.B. Sweeney, who used to actually be in good movies, or at least decent movies. Matthew Modine is a name. Don Harvey plays a guy Sullivan, not to be confused with, when King Curtis yelled at Kevin Sullivan, "Count Sullivan!" Isabel Myers plays Chloe. I have to say the girl playing Chloe she does fine what she can. Brooklyn Sundenow is an officer. And see, the thing is, they will just throw characters in this for like one little scene, and it's so minute and so narrow-minded as far as how it's dealing with the trafficking and stuff like that. And basically, I'm getting so irritated that somebody has to come in here and greet me, because otherwise we're possibly going to get banned, and I can't get banned because sometimes I bring you on here and adopt, don't shop, don't traffic animals, don't traffic humans. Just make sure that you take care of your animals. Make sure you take care of, you see, we cut your claws. We cut your claws so you can't get to me. Oh. So basically, the idea behind this movie is essentially, it's just a really dumb version of Taken, but also there's this underlying thing of mental health as far as war vets. My Dead Friend Zoe did that a lot better. Also, that wasn't necessarily an action movie, but it did do it a whole lot better than this. Even if that movie had its issues, even if the twist was obvious, then again, it really wouldn't have been much of a twist because the movie's called My Dead Friend Zoe. This movie might as well have been called We Saw Taken. Yes, we do. We saw Taken. How about you? Okay, fine. Here, go. Go over there. So anyway, don't you yell at me in that tone of voice. But no, seriously, this entire thing is just, I've already kind of spoiled a few things, especially with that Recoveried line. I hate it. This movie got released in theaters, and if you somehow can manage to go see it, you're going to regret it. I mean, you're going to regret it, and I'm trying to warn people not to. But now I have a feeling, with as angry as I'm getting about this, that people are probably going to want to go see it. So, yeah, it's in theaters briefly, very briefly. Hopefully this movie is just shoved into a goddamn incinerator along with the screenplays of, that any future screenplays, rather, that the screenwriter did, because I'm sorry, if this is the first thing he wrote, stick to something you know. If you know thermodynamics, you didn't show it here. Milla Jovovich, at her best, is a capable actress, but she's not necessarily very emotive. And this is a prime example of just having somebody in a movie that really, they're in over their head, because Milla Jovovich needs something good to work with. She does. Because let's look at Resident Evil. I rewatched Resident Evil recently. Not necessarily a great movie, but yeah, there you go. She was kind of just there and looking pretty, or hot in her case. But my God, nobody could have saved this. You could have resurrected everybody from the goddamn dead, and it wouldn't have worked. It's in theaters if you want to check it out right now. So yeah, 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So yeah, she's having military flashbacks while she's dealing with the 72-hour window. She basically gets to her daughter as she's being taken into a car by a guy. I believe the guy's name is Ben, if I remember right. And she manages to jump out and get on jump onto the goddamn, car and everything, and basically gets briefly thrown off, but somehow manages to get back, stabs the guy in the goddamn eye, the driver with the key, but then crashes, and she's hurt, so this guy gets Chloe and takes her away, and even at one point she dives on the goddamn roof. That's right, she dove on the roof and then she stabbed the guy. I watched this movie literally like 90 minutes ago, maybe 2 hours ago, and I struggle to remember just the sequence of events. But yeah, she dove on a roof, stabbed the driver, and then got thrown off and that kind of stuff. And then, yeah, 72 hours, and then the trail goes cold. Oh, trust me, this thing was already ice cold out of the starting gate. But nevertheless, suddenly we go to 44 hours, and we see a montage of her blowing up some kind of club. There's talk of this thing called the Syndicate. There's a guy named the Butcher. I would still take this Butcher over the one in Trap or Butcher Brannigan. Deep cut for wrestling fans. But this guy's torturing her. She gets free, by the way, finding out that there's a character named Sullivan. She gets free because the guy stabs her in the leg, but she uses the knife to get herself out. And the guy survives a lot of stab wounds. He survived a bunch of stab wounds. And Bruiser Brody could. No, I will not. But nevertheless, she gets free. She is going around trying to figure out what's going on here. And Sullivan, by the way, is played by the guy Don Harvey. And she manages to narrow down where, by the way, this is in New Mexico. I forgot to mention that. She manages to get to this compound deal, and she has already blown up one of the clubs and gotten some girls freed, and she's shrouded and everything. D.B. Sweeney also is a very, very corrupt cop. You know he's a corrupt cop because, I mean, it's D.B. Sweeney. He almost has to be at this point. He can play scuzzy really well. I'm not saying that he is scuzzy. I'm just saying he can play scuzzy. But this rookie cop figures out, oh, maybe she's back home. And later he finds her back home. But before that, she manages to go to this store, this hardware store. That's where Ace is the place for the helpful hardware folks, except it's not Ace. Anybody that has that jingle in their head, you're welcome. She gets a harness and then gets a skateboard. That's really just for show, but she gives them a bunch of money and says, I want to go and do this. So, mind you, she is just raring to go, wants to rescue her daughter, because they had an argument the last time that they, saw each other. And she went out on her birthday, and all that's going on. Even though they seem to love each other, but obviously teenagers get all angsty and that kind of stuff and whatever. And you kids get off my lawn. But that being said, she gets a harness, she gets a mouth guard, and she rams Sullivan's SUV and the other SUV and everything, and basically they collide with each other on this one road somewhere in New Mexico. I don't know what the name of the city is. I don't care. I don't think they have cities besides Albuquerque in New Mexico. I think they just have, I don't know, La Quintas. I don't know what they have out there in New Mexico. Sorry. But she shoots a bunch of them, gets on the skateboard and shoots underneath the deal, and ends up basically beating Sullivan over the goddamn head and shooting him, rescues Chloe. So we're halfway done. She rescued Chloe. Oh boy. Well, that's pretty much the end of that. And then she takes Chloe home. She goes to get some medical supplies. She comes back and, oh my God, they kidnapped Chloe again. And if you can't figure out where this damn thing is going already, I don't know what to tell you. But also, through this, she's having military flashbacks about sniper stuff. She's also having one key flashback, black and white, her walking up and somebody with a bag over their head. And I wonder if you can guess who the hell that is. So she now wants to take down the chairman who's running this whole goddamn thing. I didn't write down who the chairman was. I don't care. No offense against the actors in this. I hope you find other work, but god damn it, you gotta learn to say no. But that being said, we then get Matthew Modine's character, who said the word Recoveried. That's just, god damn it. Matthew Modine, who may have never achieved A-list status, but is a pretty accomplished actor. I mean, you could take a look at his stuff. Like, he's been in some big projects. He's been featured prominently. But he comes in, Colonel Lavelle. Hello, Lavelle. Hello, Shoyle. And he ends up basically telling Captain D.B. Sweeney, look, The Attorney General signed this, and you guys need to let me do this shit. Oh, you have SWAT? You call them off, or you're going to have 6 ambulances. Like 6 ambulances, possibly 6 body bags. He's her commanding officer, knows her really well. And he's trying basically get her to stop this because she has killed a lot of people. Now, they're all traffickers. And even Lavelle says that at one point to D.B. Sweeney. Knowing that he's a corrupt cop and says, well, they're traffickers. I mean, whatever. And how in the world do you get a nice coat like that? And gee, why would you protect them and everything? It seems like dialogue was supposed to be said that wasn't said or cut. And the narrative is just stitched together. But that being said, she's having these flashbacks. She's dealing with this stuff. Chloe's gone, by the way. They kidnapped her. So, oh my God, they kidnapped her again. The Asian cop guy shows up, and I'm not even knocking him as, I think his name is Paul. He's not Paul anymore. He's Super Paul. I think that was his name. If it wasn't, I apologize. But he gets knocked out, and then he's handcuffed to the radiator because apparently they have a heater or whatever the fuck it is there. And it's weird. It's a weird modern house, but there's like all this old, like, stuff that they have to, whatever. It doesn't matter. I hate this. I hate this so much. The chairman's wanting to get rid of her. D.B. Sweeney ends up getting arrested, by the way, because other people are called in, and the guy calls Lavelle a pussy. He says, oh, you can't. I don't know if I can say that word. Anyway, he calls him that and basically says, well, guess what? You're just all words, and you push papers and this kind of stuff. And then he tries to go at him, and he gets his head bashed through the goddamn window. By the way, the thing is all human traffickers deserve this fate. I'm not saying they don't. It makes for a nice concept. It doesn't make for a movie, at least a good movie, or even an adequately made one. But then, at the end of the day, she gets to the chairman's house. And she's disabled the technology. She's doing all this. Boom, boom, boom. Blood splatters look terrible, by the way, even if we were to go back to 1995. She manages to get through. She does manage to get briefly stopped by 2 guys. After blowing a bunch of guys up in the kitchen, she manages to get stopped. One guy swinging an axe, and then one guy gets a cord around her neck. She's freed a bunch of women, by the way. That's the one thing. She's freeing a bunch of girls. Looking for her daughter. She manages to strangle the guy with the axe with her legs. God, I wish that was me. I don't have, not the trafficking part, but being strangled by Milla Jovovich's legs. There are worse ways to go, folks. And then she bites the guy's ear off. The guy that was choking her with the cord. I think that guy actually did a Letterboxd review. And he seemed to be taking it in good spirits. And let me just say this much once again as I wind down here. Literally and figuratively. I hope that the cast did have fun, but this is an abhorrently made movie. I mean, this is just bad on every conceivable. I don't even know, though, if it's the worst thing I've seen this year. As fired up as I am, I think Relationship Goals actually offended me more because that was more propaganda bullshit. But she manages to lay waste to every single person. You're thinking it's a little bit too easy. Lays through him. Manages to shoot the chairman in the head to rescue Chloe. She rescues Chloe. Oh, and she had a flashback where she's like, Chloe, I'm looking for you. I'm sorry, I'm looking for you. I thought we were going to get a high tension moment. We did not get a high tension moment. Where, it turned out she was a real killer all along. We didn't get the... Sorry for those who haven't seen High Tension, but if you know, you know. But she manages to rescue Chloe. Everything's okay. Chloe's in the hospital. And then we get a massive exposition dump. And speaking of exposition dumps, I have neglected to say that this is part taken and part internally broadcasted or externally broadcasted internal monologue. If that doesn't make any sense, don't worry. The way the movie explains it is a lot worse. But yeah, it is literally Milla Jovovich offering pounds and pounds of exposition. Probably the amount of the pounds of kilo that were needed for this whole thing. But this is basically where I am going to finish up. I'm going to close with this. But first I have to get somebody to come back here. I'm going to close with this. And basically, it is revealed that she did find Chloe a week ago, and Chloe was dead. And now she is basically seeking revenge on everybody that did it because she can't compartmentalize. But now that would be beyond unfortunate to lose a child, especially that way. To lose a loved one, to lose that or whatever, it'd be really terrible. But the way they did it was so heavy. It wasn't even heavy-handed in like a fun way. It was just like, oh wow, the joke's on us, I guess. By the way, if you couldn't guess that twist, I don't really know what to tell you. But basically, yeah, Chloe had been dead for a bit, and then Nikki was in a medically induced coma and then got woken up and then decided to tell Lavelle, I'm going to go take revenge. Hooray! Anyway, so basically at the end of the day, yeah, her daughter's been dead and she's just been seeking revenge, reliving this. She can't create new memories, all she has is old memories, and that's it. And then we get a thing where it's like 72 hours and all this, and it's just recovered. Just why? Why? If Protector is not in my top 5 worst movies of the year, at least top 10. We're only in March. I hate it. I hate it so much. Fuck it. Fuck everything. I did not think I was going to get this much material out of it. All I did was yell. So yeah, that was fun. I feel better. I feel a lot better if I never watched this, but at least I got material. So agree, disagree with what I said, like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Reitland, and until we visit another studio again, I don't think I can watch anything from Magenta Life Studios again. Oh, they have others coming out this year that I'll probably have to watch, and oh god. Painful. Recoveried. Happy trails to you folks.